So I'm now recording. Hi, everybody. Welcome again to the Recall podcast, Total Rekall. And I'm joined today by Hannes Lenke. It's great to see you. Hans, the CEO of Checkly, startup number 3 this time. First met you a few years ago when you'd actually just exited an organization into Source Labs. And so our relationship goes back, I think we figured it out to 2016. But it's great to see you again.
Thanks, Will. Thanks for the invitation, and it's a pleasure to, talk to you again.
Well, I'm excited for this one because this is a topic that I actually enjoy talking to people about, and it's the startup, it's the scale up, it's the how do you build an organization, and what actually attracted me to have this conversation with you and about Checkly was you hit a bit of a milestone. So I won't steal any of your thunder by telling the listeners what that is, but if you can just kind of briefly introduce Checkly and what the milestone is that I'm talking about, and then we can just probe a little bit into how we got there.
Yeah, let me do that. So Checkly, what we are doing is we're a developer tool software service platform, right? And are a startup. And we enable our customers to understand how their websites and APIs are performing, right? So we're the first ones to alert our customers if, there's a crucial transaction on their website not working anymore for their users or for their APIs. So in a nutshell, we're going to alert you if your users are suffering, right? And maybe in the middle of the night. And whom do we alert? Pretty much DevOps teams, developer teams within organizations, right? And this could be, a small team or really a larger organization, a larger enterprise, right? And as a typical developer tool, software service application, we do that worldwide, right? So our customer base is, a worldwide customer base. And the announcement you just talked about, or the milestone which we hit, was, we hit more than 1,000 paying customers. We have several thousand users, but 1,000 paying customers. And,
Nice.
These 1,000 paying customers, could be, the most innovative startups in the world, but also larger enterprises. And that's what we are going to talk about today.
Yes. Well, congratulations. It's a great milestone. It's a milestone that I hear and have countless conversations about in fixing a leaky funnel, some people call it, about how you go from a freemium model, an open source kind of way of approaching the market to then asking people to pay. So let's kind of dive a little bit into how we go on that journey. So this is startup number 3 for you. You've obviously made a lot of mistakes. You've done a lot of things right. You've done some things wrong and learned and put that into Checkly. So where did you start with this product? How did you identify that there was a need for this, that there was actually a user base that would pay for this in what is quite a competitive market? Because there are some big names out there that you've stepped into the ring with.
Yes. So how did we start? Actually, Checkly started as a side project, by my co-founder, Tim, right? And he started it to solve his own pain, right? He was responsible for a legacy platform and needed to ensure that, their checkout flow is working, right? So for him, it was a scooter startup where you could, rent scooters for some hours and then bring them back, right?
Mm-hmm.
And this flow didn't work sometimes. And the issue was that they only figured that out when customers let them know, right? So and what they wanted to achieve is actually knowing before a customer is suffering that, the checkout flow doesn't work anymore. So he started to think about, okay, how can I solve that problem, and created Checkly pretty much as a side project to his freelance gig back then. So the initial thinking was, okay, let's build a really simple tool that enables me as an engineer to understand, okay, something is wrong here, right? And that, writes me an email if something is wrong. And this is how we started. So there was a real business need in the end. for this kind of application. And also other tools on the market were way too complex for them as a startup, right? And were not, integrated in their software development process, etc. So he saw the need. Tim, my co-founder, saw the need to create something on his own, and this is how it really started. Right, so it was kind of a small application back then, right, solving his pain, and then he started to talk about it, right, and talked about it on Twitter, etc. And there were, more people in his network saying, "Hey, okay, I need something similar. Can you maybe, build a platform out of it, and let me use it on my own as well, right?" And this is how Checkly really evolved from a project for really one customer or one potential customer. It wasn't even a paying customer back then. To more people using that, not paying back then, but soon started to pay. And what we started with was, we had a $7 plan. So there was a free plan, and you were able to use Shakti on that free plan, and with that free plan, and lots of users did that back then, and then there was a $7 plan, which enabled them to create more of these checks, right? And these checks are our value metric, I think is the right word, right? So it's kind of like how we bill our customers. So the more you want to monitor your website and your APIs, the more checks you will create at Checkly, right? And so we're charging, or back then charged for more checks, right? And this is how we really started.
Yeah.
And then the question was like, for Tim, is how do I get more customers? Right? How do I get more than one customer? So that one first paying customer came from his Twitter network, and then really the question was, okay, how to get more?
Yeah.
And that evolved over time. And what he did quite early on, even before we took Checkly from a side project to real business, is just starting to talk about his success and his metrics. Right, so he started to announce that he got the first customer, the first 5 customers, etc. on Twitter, and then also back then, the indie hacker community was quite a big one. I think it might be still, right? So, but he talked about his project on the indie hacker portals, etc., etc. And really the first, I would say, 50 customers came from these kind of groups where other indie hackers needed a tool to monitor their indie hacker project, right?
It's interesting, really, because like listening to the story and hearing that journey, it's almost like there's a framework that some of the successful startups follow. And I mean, I kind of draw a kind of reference to like the Airbnb story. The guy that set up Airbnb, it was a side hustle. He just wanted to rent his spare bedroom out to people coming into an event for the weekend, and that just turned into Airbnb. But it seems to be like internal pain, feel the pain, create as simple as a product that you possibly can, test that, see if you can get somebody that agrees to pay to it, shout about that, scale it, and then if you can replicate that, bring some people in to then go and sell it. Seems to be a kind of a pattern that people follow.
Yes, and I'm a strong believer in really concentrating on a niche where you can have an impact, right? And know that there are people who might have a similar pain, and really scale from there. So really, how it really started was focusing on the indie hacker niche, and focusing on his Twitter followers, etc.
He's a good dev marketer.
Yep.
Yeah. How would you in your kind of experience, going from like a hobby version or the
Yep.
freemium version, call it what you will, to then asking people for, you know, a monthly subscription or an annual subscription, however you put that price together. Do you think it's better to charge from the start and charge as early as you can, or what's your kind of take on it, having been in this game for as long as you have, in getting
Yes.
free versions to paid versions?
Yes. I think you want to figure out quite early if customers would pay for, or users would pay for your tool and become a customer, right? In the developer tool market, though, developers like to explore. They like to build things first and then make a decision on buying. So I believe that would still want to have, or at least we want to have, a free version of Checkly, right? Which enables you to get started, maybe try it out, and try out, and try even the paid version of Checkly for a while, and then either become a hobby user on a hobby plan, which is free forever, or become a paid user. But really early on, even if you start a startup, I would want to test if someone is paying for that potential service quite early. And I think you do not have to ask for lots of money first. It's really about paying money or paying money or not paying money, right? So we started with $7 per month, right, which is not a lot, but what it showed us is kind of like, okay, there's an interest in our platform, and even a freelancer would pay $7, and then we try to figure out, okay, who would pay $40 per month, $80, 250, or even more, right?
And how do you decide where to draw the line, between how much you give away for free versus it tipping over then into you have to pay for this? Like, is there a kind of an equation almost that you use?
Yeah. So this thinking evolved, right? So and we're constantly iterating over pretty much all the plans and the complete pricing. But the thinking, our goal is really to enable someone with a hobby project to be successful, right? And then we're looking at, okay, what kind of features do you need at Checkly to monitor your hobby project, right? Do you need certain integrations? Do you need a certain amount of checks running at Checkly, et cetera, And this really draws the line between free and the team plan which we have. So the first paid plan is really, hey, okay, you could use that for your side project, and we would use it for the side project, right? So if I would spin up a side project, want to make sure that runs all day long, can I use that free plan and be happy? If so, yes, that's a free plan. And then, but if I get more professional, earn money with it, and maybe invite another team colleague, etc., then we're asking for some money, right?
And with users that you have that are on the hobby version or the free version,
Yep.
how do you then kind of take them on a journey to become a paid customer, or will they always just remain hobbyists?
The truth is that quite some free users are really just monitoring their hobby projects, right? And these hobby projects might never make money. So and they can benefit from Checkly. They might be a happy Checkly user and refer us to their companies, to their day job, or refer us to their friends, talk about us, etc. And this is totally fine, right? They should keep using Checkly, be happy with it. And then if such a project becomes a real paying project, is generating money, is serious, then they might invite other colleagues, right? So that's the first trigger for us, or they might use more checks, etc., etc. And this then we're kind of nudging them into the decision of now you got to pay for Checkly.
So is that something that they have to, they throw a flare up effectively, and your systems recognize that, or your team recognizes that, or is there some kind of mechanism, there's some kind of strategy from your team that are trying to identify in your free users, right? That could potentially be a paid customer. This is how we approach that.
Yeah. So Check is fully automated, right? So at least on the self-service part, we can talk about the two kind of different motions that we are running, right? So, but on the self-service part, and this is what we're talking about, kind of free to first paid self-service user. Our customers are making the decision to become a paid customer by just consuming more, right? And this is nothing we're actively looking into, right? So because we have several thousand signups per month, so several thousand developers testing out our product and might become a hobby user, and then 100 of them might become a paid user, right? And they're really becoming a paid user because they're crossing the line between, okay, this is a free feature, or the volume is included in the free plan, right? And then if they want to consume a higher volume, then we're asking for a credit card automatically, right? So the tool is sending out an email saying, hey, you consumed your free plan volume, or you're about to using a feature which is included in the paid plan, and then we're asking for a credit card.
Right. Okay. So the way that you've set up your automated systems is to almost track and identify people that could be potential paid users.
Yes and no, right? So we're yes, we can track users which are becoming active, and then potentially paid users, but really it's their decision to to become a paid user in the end.
And is that because a lot of developers that I talk to, they don't like to be sold to. They don't like to have things rammed down their throat and say,
Yep.
sign this, you've got to pay for this, blah blah blah. Is it a case of that you like to lead the horse to water effectively, and then they make the decision to start drinking, figuratively speaking?
Yeah. So I strongly believe in optimizing for a PLG motion, so product-led growth motion, where we really build a tool which someone could try out, and then making a decision on his own, right? Or get in touch with us. And we have several ways to get in touch with us. And we will also get in touch with you if you're, let's say, coming from a large organization, like a Lyft, or an Airbus, or then we will actively get in touch with you, trying to help you. Right. So that's the motion we're running. It's kind of always trying to help our users to implement their first checks, be successful checking. And we firmly believe if users are successful, then first of all, they will invite their colleagues. Second of all, consume more volume. And third of all, either becoming a self-service paid customer, really, paying us via credit card every month, or raising their hand, becoming hand raisers, as we call them, saying, hey, okay, we need a larger volume. We got to talk about, not 10 people on my team or 20 people on my team, but really 100, etc. How can we, structure a contract which, fits our needs, etc. Right. And there we talk about a manual process where we have a sales team involved with technical salespeople and real salespeople, kind of,
And how do you find because it sounds like the way that you came into the market and your inception into this space was very social marketing kind of centric. Has that something that you've continued and that you continue to advocate around selling socially? Well, let's not use the word selling, but promoting socially the benefit and the value of your tool through the social media channels, through documentation or video content. How do you kind of find you get the best results for the content you're putting out?
Yes. That's a great question, right? So, and I would divide that journey from, getting your first customer to maybe 250, and then from 250 to to 1,000 maybe, right? And the first customers were really social, right? Then scaling that to 250 customers was really thinking about, okay, how can we break out of that social motion, keep doing this, but really find more customers, maybe in other areas, maybe another niche, etc. Right? And this is what we did, right? So what we really did is thinking about, okay, how can we help customers to talk about us, right? So building a community, and talk to their friends about us, etc. So that was one thinking, really referrals. Then content. So how can we educate our customers about how to use Shakti, but also how to use such a tool and for their projects, right? Without really, talking about Shakti, etc. So we published a lot of content around how to use, frameworks that we're using, for example, Playwright, etc. And really became a trusted advisor in that field, right? So really helping customers understand, okay, how can I achieve a certain thing, maybe with Shakti, maybe without Shakti. So we've invested a lot of time into this content. So we were at referrals content, and also as a developer tool, you can do a lot with, and we did with partners, right? So really integrating into other tools, because first of all, just from a product perspective, your product should be integrated into the software development lifecycle, and should be integrated in your CI/CD flow and other products on the market. So what we did is building these integrations, but then also doing marketing around this, being listed in the marketplaces of Vercel, of other related startups, etc. And this also attracted potential users to us, right? So it was really about scaling from the social channels Tim, my co-founder, had to just adding more on top and scaling that. And this kind of brought us to 250 customers. And still today, 35% of our new customers are coming from referrals, which is great.
Okay.
And the content is also attracting quite some visitors to our website.
So what are you doing then with the referrals? Are you offering an incentive for referrals, or are you just leaning on the fact that developers do talk in a community with one another, and they almost inherently do that?
Yeah, we're kind of leaning on the second, right? So we're not offering an incentive. We do that now with partners, right, and resellers in various markets. So if we talk about how to scale from 250 to 1,000, but really for our users, we just we're building a community around Shakti, and hope that our users will talk about Shakti, on Twitter, but also in local meetup groups, etc. So and we encourage them too, right? So we send them nice Shakti swag, etc., and encourage users to talk about us, right? And that's what we do. But we don't, we're not paying money for referrals. Not yet. Maybe later.
Okay, right. I mean, that is testament to the product in and of itself, right? Because developers, they will not recommend a product. They will probably actually be disparaging about a product that doesn't solve a problem, that in fact creates a problem. So I suppose, the technical product itself is self-promoting, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
And well, I mean, we're talking a lot about, marketing kind of and maybe sales, but really, I mean, first of all, we obsess over the product, right? So that's what we do on a daily basis, kind of to enable you to get started within a minute at Shakti, right? Even within seconds, etc. And we really invest a lot of thinking there, a lot of time, and trying to make that kind of flow better every day.
Yeah.
helping you to invite your colleagues, maybe exactly, making that easier. So, driving that motion a bit. And this is what we're really, have focused on and still really focusing on, driving that growth motion from within the product.
Yeah, nice. And I noticed as well with like some of the feature releases that you have. I think one of them was called Heartbeat. Um, how do you kind of stage like your feature releases and how much time and effort you put into that? Because I've had people on this podcast, one quite recently about a startup founder that failed. His company failed, and he was very open and honest and brave actually to talk about the failure of his company. And the one of the main things that he attributed that to was being so focused on the feature releases to be the silver bullet that would save the
Mm.
product,
Mm.
that he kind of blinkered himself over the edge of a cliff. Um, how do you kind of divide that time so that you don't do that and you haven't done that and you've released great features
Yep.
whilst maintaining that trajectory? Do you know?
Yep. We're asking our customers a lot, right? So we're in constant conversations with the customers. We have a public roadmap where
Mm,
all users can vote for specific features.
nice.
We're looking at the votes, etc., and trying to understand what kind of customer is that. And the truth is, there's not the one customer being like the other 999, but really various different kind of customers. And we try to make a decision. Okay, are we optimizing for that one use case now or later,
Mm,
or maybe not, right? So is it part of our vision to implement such a feature, etc. But really,
mm,
it's a lot about talking to customers in the whole organization.
mm,
Or one of our core values is that we talk a lot to customers. That's actually our first one. And follow up on this, right? And then really
mm,
try to understand, okay, if that is that a feature which really makes a difference
yeah,
for the user
yeah,
in the end. And often we are successful. Sometimes we are failing with specific features. And
yeah.
often as a founder, and I can relate to that, you're thinking, okay, this feature is a silver bullet and it will, bring you from 1,000 customer to 10,000.
Mm,
But in the end, it's always a mix of, features,
yeah,
marketing, go to market, frankly, right? So
yeah,
sales, etc., talking about it. And really understanding what the customers actually need, right? So we also invested quite some money and resources into features that never really took off, right? And
mm,
in the end, after half a year, you need to make a decision, and we try to make that decision based on data. Is
yeah,
that a feature that stays, or do we need to iterate, or do we need to get rid of it?
mm,
To enable customers to understand really what Checkly is good at.
yeah, mm,
And yeah, so that's what we do on a daily basis. But we're really happy about our customer base being very active
mm.
and asking about lots of features.
Yeah, and I think that again is testament to the product. Obviously, you've got the user buy-in at such a level where they're almost interacting with your R&D team, about how and they can better the product and make it more usable. And that is it reminds me of a CEO who I know, um, and he would get as much data as he could as quickly as he could across as many different sources as he could, and
Yes,
he would put a lot of these things in Slack groups, a lot around the dev community, and he would say, get the data fast and fail fast. um, so I think what he meant by that was, don't spend too much time, 6, 12, 18 months developing a feature that ultimately is going to just fail in the end, and you've spent all that time and money in doing so. And I think that is
yes,
obviously what you were saying there,
yes,
get the
yes,
data and
yes.
fail quickly.
Yes. That's kind of what we try to do, right? So if you have an idea for a new feature, or that idea comes from the customer base, we try to understand, okay, who would use that feature, who's
Mm,
interested. Then we start with customer interviews. Really, we're putting that into a Notion, into a product brief.
mhm,
Then starting from there, And an actual feature development should be in front of customer within, a month or two, right? So that there's at least a beta version of a feature in front of the customers, and then we go from there. So I mean, we can't anticipate really every nitty-gritty detail of a specific feature and how we need to scale that. And just starting the process. So we try to bring it to market, bring it to the users really early, and then testing it out, but also involving marketing early, right? So it's not just about the development team developing a feature and the product managers thinking about this how this feature looks like, but in the end also about how to communicate that feature and when to communicate it, etc., etc. And this is a process which we run multiple times per quarter, releasing new features. So features coming from the feature teams at Checkly. So we have two feature teams, one platform team, and these two feature teams are constantly developing features, and marketing is involved from day one. And also, frankly, sales, right? And the sales team might have enterprise customers which are also interested in this kind of features. So we try to involve them also early and test out if they think that's solving a potential problem, right? And I would say for probably 50% of these, feature ideas or even more, we come to the conclusion, okay, this is not a big enough problem today. And it will not solve, the customer pain, right? Or it might not generate, enough money to justify, a quarter investment of a team.
Yeah. And I think with that, you have to be brave enough to ask some very hard questions very quickly. Will this solve a problem for you? Why would you buy this? Why would you be interested in this feature release? And ask, almost trying to put them off. Be like cynical in your questioning approach, which somebody that I've got a lot of respect for, who set some great companies up, said to me. He said, I'll go in there and I'll try and put them off, and if they convince me that they want it, then I'll build it. Which is quite interesting. And to touch on marketing, as you've just introduced that narrative, I've seen marketing change a lot in the developer community over the last probably 3 years, where it's gone from traditional marketing, PLG marketing, the dev advocate approach, to now what I'm seeing, which is very social heavy. Like, I've got a client in Israel who've done a fantastic job of building themselves a customer base without having a single salesperson. And they did that by hiring like full stack engineers to go and be the voice of their product across social media channels. And they won a customer base in America without having anybody in America. How do you kind of approach your marketing? Is it, dev marketing, PLG? Is it social media channels? Is it all of the above? How have you kind of now scaled your business in a marketing capacity?
Yes, that's a great question, right? And actually, the 250 customers we attracted almost without marketing, I would say, right? So I mean, yes, there was marketing and there was social media marketing, as we talked about before, but I would call it founder-led marketing, right? So that's what we had until 2 years ago, right? So where we said, okay, we're just doing what we think is right? And then at a certain point, we figured, okay, we need a process, we need an approach to marketing, right? And this approach is pretty much still based on what we did early, educating customers first, right? So we have a DevRel on board that is tasked to, first of all, educate users and potential users about the problem, right? And the potential solution, and also our tool, right? And enable them to these users to get started quickly, right? So that's kind of the basis of what we do in marketing. And then we are also doing still a lot of content around around Checkly, etc. On YouTube, on our blog, with guides, etc., on our website, and in various other portals. So it's really about educating a developer, a DevOps person, about how to achieve certain things, right? So, and then of course there's a third layer, which is talking about what we as a company, or as a product released, right? So new features, right? You also got to talk about new features and educate your customers about these new features. And you might want to do that, via emails, via social media, via webinars with your developer relationship person, at conferences, etc. So I would say it's a marketing mix by now, right? To really, scale to 1,000 customers, but still with the thinking, okay, let's not, all the time scream out, hey, here's Shackley, please look at us, but really, here's a valuable piece of information or content you might want to look at. And by the way, we help you solve the problem.
So you go very specific. So you build specific videos that are solving specific problems. And are you targeting a specific audience? Like, would you build your social media videos or the content for the hobbyists, or would you make it only for the paid version users?
So, I mean, what we would do is really thinking about who's our ICP for various channels, right? Yeah. So for self-service, it's mostly very, very modern startups, right? Which are using Checkly. And then for enterprise, it's, modern teams in these kind of enterprises, but they have different titles and they think about different things all day long, right? So just to make it very practical, for a self-service customer, the typical first user of Checkly might be still CDO, co-founder, right? So, and there we talk about, okay, how to build monitoring for your software as a service application. And then for these large organizations, it might be an SRE DevOps team or a platform engineering team. And there we talk about how to enable your engineering organization to own monitoring. Then a level deeper, we go into the automation frameworks, which a customer can use, and really educate someone on how to write that code, right? So how to write that line of code to achieve certain things, right? So it really goes from practitioner, so from the actual developer to maybe manager of a large organization.
So I think that's a great lesson, and it's a great point to actually finish on, about having a really solid understanding of your user persona and what they want. What does that person want, and what do they need? What is their specific pain? Because you can't cookie cutter, an SRE to a platform engineer to a CTO to a head of organization with the same content, with the same message, because it won't fall, in the way that you want it to. So I think from what for what we've just spoke about, I think people will take a lot from this. I know it's a conversation that is very pressing. A lot of people are, when I'm talking to them about their scale-up strategies, they're saying, well, I need to get from a freemium version to a paid version. I need to get through that barrier where people are saying, well, I thought this was a free tool. So you've given a lot of insight there, Hans. I'm very, very grateful. It's very, very good to see you again. And I'm so happy for you that you're building a fantastic company.
Thanks, Will, and thank you for the invitation. Thank you for the opportunity to talk about, bringing Checkly from 0 customers to 1,000.
Yeah, it's very exciting for you, and I look forward to seeing you very soon.
Yes.
Cheers, Hans. Bye.